Hey, welcome to the second episode of the NBA 2K roster review. I'm your host, John Markish, aka the Real 2K Insider. I'm an NBA superfan that's been editing NBA 2K rosters for about 17 years. Today, we're going to be covering the Christmas Day games in this episode, which was the second game of the season for all teams involved. This video won't be as expansive as the first episode that covered opening night, so check that out if you want like a deeper dive into what's going on around the NBA. So the roster used in this video is my personal custom roster, the Real 2K roster. It's available on the PS4, and you can find it by searching my handle, Real 2K Insider, or by searching Real 2K in the file name. So just reviewing the scores from Christmas, there were 5 games. The Heat beat the Pelicans 111 to 98. The Bucks beat the Warriors 138 to 99. The Nets beat the Celtics 123 to 95. The Lakers beat the Mavericks 138 to 115, and the Clippers beat the Nuggets 121 to 108. So let's start off with the Milwaukee Bucks. A couple notes from this game. Chris Middleton, he had another great game, 31 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. He did all that in only 26 minutes. 10 of 15 from the field, 6 of 8 on threes, 5 of 5 from the line. He's off to a phenomenal start this year, really building on the... He was an all-star, borderline all-NBA player last year, and he looks like he might be taking the next leap. So keeping an eye on that to see if his high level of play keeps up over the next month. Beyond that, DJ Augustine, he actually played in this game after missing the opener. He had 13 points in 13 minutes, if you recall. The entire Bucks bench only scored 12 points in the opener. So Augustine by himself was able to exceed that. And the rest of the bench also played well. Bobby Portis had 10 points and 12 rebounds. And DJ Wilson, he had 9 points on 3 of 3 on threes. The Bucks did not re-sign Ersan Ilyasova, so Wilson's in the rotation. He's going to get opportunities this year. So he's going to see probably a little bit of an overall boost after 3 years operating as the third string. He's in the final season of his rookie contract, so this is a make-or-break year for him. So I've already got his overall a little higher than I would have had it previously, just based on the role that he's playing for them right now. And finally, Sam Merrill, he played again at point guard in garbage time, so I feel a little more comfortable about changing his position. So that's really all my notes for the Bucks. We're going to move on to the Celtics now. And Jaylen Brown, he had 27 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. He was 11 of 25 from the field. So just reiterating from the last game where I believe he had 33 points. He looks like he's off to a great start this year, probably pushing for the All-Star team. I have him right here at an 85 overall, but that's probably going to go up throughout the year. He didn't get many playmaking opportunities the last couple of years, especially with Gordon Hayward around, so I expect his pass ratings to go up this year. And if he's scoring at this rate, probably his shot ratings, if some of his badges will probably go up in quality as well. And Peyton Pritchard, I changed his position to shooting guard as he's just officially the backup to Jeff Teague is getting a good portion of minutes behind Smart, and the Celtics aren't really using anybody else at the 2 guard, so I'm fine making that swap. And it makes sense from the premise of Pritchard. The questions on Pritchard are his defense at the point guard position, as he's not the quickest guy out there. So it does make sense to defensively move him up a spot to mitigate his weaknesses. So nothing else crazy for the Celtics, though, so we'll move on to the Clippers. Paul George had another efficient game, 23 points, 5 rebounds, and 9 assists. He was 8 of 14 from the field, 5 of 9 on threes. So right now he's playing really well. I think he had 33 in the opener as well. And he needed to come out and have a strong performance this year after laying the blame at other people's feet for his playoff performance. So it's up to him to prove everybody wrong. and that no, it was really everybody else's fault. I'm the king. Well, you got to show it on the court, and right now that's what he's doing. And Kawhi Leonard, he also had a good game, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. He did have a scary moment where he caught an inadvertent elbow from Serge Ibaka and was bleeding profusely on the court, probably about as bad as I've ever seen a player bleed in the 20-something years that I've been watching basketball. But it was friendly fire, so no suspensions or anything are going to be dealt out for that. And I don't think he's going to miss any time, maybe a game if he has to go through the concussion protocol or anything like that. And Nick Batum also had continued his solid play. He had 13 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists as the starting power forward. People wrote him off last year, but he's still an effective player, which I've been saying for the last 6 months. So moving along to the Miami Heat. Duncan Robinson, he had 23 points, 5 rebounds, and shot 7 of 13 on threes. The 7 threes made were a Christmas Day record, so he's guns blazing to start the year. Jimmy Butler, he had 4.6 rebounds and 5 assists, but he didn't play in the second half due to an ankle sprain that he was nursing prior to the game. He had 5 assists by the half, so he's the primary playmaker in the starting unit. He has 12 assists through the first 2 games, and again, he only played half of this one. So Mo Harkless didn't play in the first half, but he backed up Iguodala in the second half. Iguodala started for the third quarter for Butler. So Harkless may eventually have he might be back and forth between the 3 and the 4 as far as where I have his position, because he didn't start in this one. The Heat instead started Myers Leonard after he didn't play in the opener, and that may have just been matchup related, as the Heat were up against the Pelicans, and they may have wanted somebody with size to match up against Zion, but Leonard did start all of his regular season games last year, so they may prefer him in that role. It's all something to keep an eye on. If Also, Kelly Olynyk, he played in the opener and was a DNP coach's decision in this game. So these 3 players might all just be rotating around depending on the matchups. But if it looks like Leonard and Olynyk are getting the lion's share of the minutes and Harkless is spelling Butler more frequently, that's when I'll probably make the position change. And Avery Bradley, he also made his debut. He played pretty well, 12 points, 4 assists, and he took Kendrick Nunn's spot in the rotation. With Nunn losing his starting job to Tyler Hero, and then Bradley playing over him in this one, and probably, obviously he's a good defender, and he'll probably get the run of the playoffs. I'm really expecting Nunn to not have a sophomore season comparable with what he did as a rookie when he made the all-rookie team. So he might even be on the trade block because he really doesn't have a role as long as everybody's healthy. And Precious Achiuwa, he was once again Bam's backup, so I have him firmly as a center, and he's been effective through 2 games. So I did boost his rating a tick, as I want to make sure that he's getting playing time over Chris Silva in the simulations and whatnot. Also has a higher rating than Harkless, which helps him on the depth chart as well. So moving on to the Lakers. LeBron James hit 22 points, 7 rebounds, 10 assists, 8 of 18 from the field, 3 of 8 on threes. Standard game for the King. Ditto for Anthony Davis. He had 28 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 10 of 16 from the field, 3 of 5 on threes. He hit 3+ threes in a game 9 times during the regular season last year and twice in the playoffs. His high was 4. And I expect him to have more 3-point shooting games moving forward. Obviously, as he gets older, he's going to eventually move further away from the basket, but I think they're really exploring that as a weapon for, LeBron loves having shooters around, and Davis is, he's a much better interior scorer than Kevin Love, but they would, of course, love to be able to get good outside shooting from him, especially if Montrezl Harrell is going to be playing a lot. Montrezl Harrell had 22 points, 7 rebounds, and he was 10 of 13 from the field in this one, which is 2 straight games, good games for him. So looks like he's back to normal and playing at the level that he was when he was named Sixth Man of the Year with the Clippers. And the Lakers are playing him more than the Clippers were. So this is why I expect Davis's 3-point numbers to go up, because Harrell's spends a lot of time on the interior, and you can't clog the paint with both of these guys. So moving on to the Dallas Mavericks, there's a lot of like little idiosyncrasies with this team. Nobody's really popped off the page statistically, but they have some interesting lineup and rotation stuff. So Luka, he was the star of the game, 27 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 9 and 19 from the field. That's a pretty standard game for him at this point, But they did get crushed defensively against the Lakers, and I feel like they're feeling the effects of having no Kristaps Porzingis, especially since they were matched up against Anthony Davis, as they started Dorian Finney-Smith at the 4 in this game, and he's really more of a 3. And they went to a smaller lineup, or not a smaller lineup, but they started Luka at the point guard, and normally when their substitution pattern is a point guard will come in for Finney-Smith, and everybody else will or rather not Finney-Smith this year, because right now he's playing the 4. So whoever's the 3 typically will sub out, and Luka will slide over to the 3. So in this instance, it's really been Trey Burke coming in, which is why I said smaller lineup, because he's 6 foot, but it's not really smaller if Luka's sliding over to play the 3. But so the lineup patterns for this game was Trey Burke came in for Hardaway. It shifts Luka over to small forward. Hardaway, he re-enters for Josh Richardson a few minutes later at the 2 guard, essentially. And they did the same thing again, but earlier in the third quarter, and they didn't bring Richardson back in. So they wanted... I didn't get to watch this game, but just from looking at the lineups, it's clear that they wanted to have probably Burke matched up with Dennis Schroeder and Luka matched up with LeBron. And instead of Josh Richardson checking in, they ended the third quarter with Trey Burke, Luka at the 2, Finney-Smith at the 3, Kleber at the 3, and Willie Cauley-Stein at the 5. I think I said Kleber at the 3, but I mean at the 4. So Kleber and Cauley-Stein in the front court, and then on the perimeter is Burke, Luka, and DFS. So this is our first action of the year, seeing Luka at the 2. It's worth keeping an eye on, depending on how the rotation eventually shakes out, as unfortunately you can only give 2 positions to a player in NBA 2K. So right now I've got him at the 1 and the 3. But yeah, I ended up inverting Josh Richardson and Tim Hardaway Jr., and I may end up switching Trey Burke to shooting guard, depending on what goes on. In this game, he was more of a 1, but in the first game, he was more of a 2. And you can see that the Dallas Mavericks don't really have a backup 2, as Josh Green's a rookie, and then they have Hinton on a 2-way. And if they're going to be using Burke in a role similar to Seth Curry, I think I'm on board with it, but it's just something that's on my radar. I'm keeping an eye on it. And of course, Finney-Smith is normally a 3. Right now, he's starting at the 4. Maybe he continues to start at the 4 when Porzingis comes back, and they use Porzingis as a 5. That's all kind of up in the air. So going over to the Nets, they had another dominant game. Kyrie Irving dropped 37 points. He had 8 rebounds and 8 assists. 13 of 21 from the field, 7 of 10 on threes. And Kevin Durant, likewise, pretty good. 29 points, 9 of 16 from the field, 3 of 4 on threes, 8 of 9 from the line. If they're going to play like that, the Nets are the best team in the East, if not the whole league. They shot 54% against the Celtics, including 52% on threes, and they held the Celtics to 38% shooting, including 30% on threes. And the Celtics are the second team that they've held under 100, so it looks like the defense is really clicking right now, as well as the offense, obviously. So They have, and I'm willing to put them over the Bucks because although Durant might be like a shade worse than Giannis, the rest of the Nets bench with LeVert and Jarrett Allen and even the guys like Landry Shamet are better than what the Bucks bench has to offer right now. So I'm pretty comfortable saying that they're going to be the best team in the East this year, as they will be able to overcome any injuries or rest periods for their top guys. So looking at the Denver Nuggets, they lost again. Nikola Jokic had 24 points, 9 rebounds, 10 assists, 1 rebound short of a triple-double after having a triple-double in his first game. He was 7 of 13 from the field, 1 of 4 on threes, 9 of 11 from the free throw line. He's the best center in basketball, hands down. Not as dominant on defense as Embiid, but he's one of the best centers offensively that we've seen probably in the last 20 years, I would say. Like the only other competition is like Shaq and maybe Yao Ming. You can make somewhat of an argument for. And going along to the Pelicans, Zion Williamson, he had a phenomenal game. He's definitely gonna make the All-Star team this year as long as he stays healthy, and he's probably looking at the All NBA team as well. He dropped 32 points and 14 rebounds. He played 38 minutes, so again, he has a no minutes restriction this year. 11 to 20 from the field, 10 to 15 from the line, 15 free throws. He's 20 years old. He's, with his physicality, they were talking about on the broadcast that, even if when he has a cold shooting night, he's still going to be able to get to the line and still be able to produce. If you're able to get 15 free throws or 10 to 15 free throws a night, and you don't shoot the ball well, you still might have 20 points. So he's an unstoppable force for the Pelicans. Brandon Ingram, likewise, had a second good game, 28 points, 7 to 17 from the field, 4 of 8 on threes, and 10 of 11 from the free throw line. So between their top two guys, they were phenomenal in this game, but they were held back by their backcourt in this one, as Eric Bledsoe and Lonzo Ball, they combined for 11 points on 4 of 18 shooting and 3 of 14 on threes. So even though they're going to get great performances out of their All-Stars, they might be held back by the erratic shooting of their backcourt in certain nights. And it took a little while for J.J. Redick to get going in this one. It's kind of too late by the time that happened. But moving along, we're actually going to stop over at the Pistons, who didn't play, but they made a transaction. They added Frank Jackson on a two-way contract last year with the Pelicans. He averaged 6 points and 1 assist. He's only 22 years old, and he's essentially insurance for Derrick Rose injury or trade. You see here they've got two point guards on two ways, and they start a rookie, Killian Hayes. So they don't have a ton of depth here, so good to see them add Jackson. He's probably good enough to deserve an NBA roster spot. But we're going to slide on over to the Warriors, who they got killed again in their game. Wiggins and Kelly Oubre, they combined for 15 points on 7 of 18 shooting, and they were 0 for 9 on threes. And that includes 1 of 10 from the field and 0 of 5 for Kelly Oubre. They are not. Klay Thompson is not walking through that door. These guys are not pulling their weight right now, and it's only adding to the pressure that Steph Curry feels. Curry had 19 points and 6 assists, but again, common theme with the first game, he only shot 6 of 17 from the field and 2 of 10 on threes. So if those other guys aren't able to produce, Curry's shot ratings are going to drop because his efficiency won't be there this year. And the silver lining, though, is James Wiseman had another solid game, 18 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks. He's my favorite. He's my early favorite for Rookie of the Year, and he's the second best player on the team right now. Which is wild since he barely played college basketball. But that's why he's my early favorite for Rookie of the Year, is if he's going to be outplaying Oubre and Wiggins, they're going to need every bit that they can from Wiseman in order to make the playoffs or come close to it, at least make the play-in game. So other substitution notes is Damian Lee came in for Eric Pascal, which shifted Oubre to power forward. So I've got Damian Lee as a 3 this year compared to a 2. Michael Mulder, he came in for Wiggins during the game. So I've slid him over to the 2 rather than the 1. As he's not really much of a playmaker. He's more of a shooter anyway. And it looks like Brad Wanamaker's playing the bulk of the point guard minutes behind Curry this year anyway. And Juan Toscano came in for Oubre, so I'm probably going to shift him over to a 4 at some point. I think part of it is just because the Warriors are also without Draymond Green and Smiley as well due to injury, so they don't actually have a true power forward as their backup. But, you know, the power forward position is really... Most 3s are 4s nowadays, so I don't have a problem really making the switch. Just holding off to see what the rotation looks like once Draymond Green comes back. And I guess one other minor note is Kent Bazemore. He came in as a 3 for Oubre in the second half of this game, so I may be switching a lot of these guys over throughout the year. If Mulder and Poole are going to be getting minutes at the 2, then it probably makes sense to have Bazemore at the 3, and that's when I should slide over Toscano. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to do it now. I've talked myself into it live. And there is one more adjustment that we'll need to make. Is we see moving Toscano over to power forward tanked his rating. Most small forwards drop about 3 points in overall when you make that switch. So the trick you got to do is the intangibles rating doesn't do anything except modify the overall. That's why 2K added it to the game. So you'll see here I have Smiley at a 25. That's because he was rating too high when I switched his position over. They had him at center, and changing him to power forward raised his rating by 3 points. So I tanked his intangibles to make sure that his overall rating remains low. So we're going to do the opposite for Toscano to make sure that he still has a reasonable overall rating. So we bumped him up to a 70. He probably needs a little bit of a re-rate in order to get him in the rotation, or at least to have him as he's a better player than a 70. But that's one trick that you got to do with the intangibles rating to compensate for the subpar overall rating that 2K the formulas that they have to calculate overall for each position are a little outdated, we shall say. So that's just one of those tricks that you got to do. So that wraps it up for this edition of the 2K roster review. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Leave a comment. I'm really looking for some feedback. I'm trying to make this a regular series, and let me know what you think. Also, feel free to subscribe. So until next time, this is John Marcus, the Real 2K Insider, signing off. Have a great night. Have a great day.